You found the Deep Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman. This one is part 2 of 3 parts from a program from Monday, August 15th, 2011. Pheeroan akLaff, my guest in the studio. Our topic, Miles Davis and John Coltrane in Japan in the 60s. Not necessarily together, but they both had experiences there in that decade, and both, as I think you'll see here, historically significant. If you missed part 1, you might want to go back and pick that one up before you move on to this one. And if you, for whatever reason, maybe you fade on this one, you're going to want to still catch part 3 because that's when the Coltrane comes in, and it's quite remarkable. Anyway, all right, enough said. Pheeroan, check out Pheeroan, Pheeroan, Pheeroan akLaff, AKLAFF. Magnificent musician, an even more wonderful person to hang out with 3 hours listening to music. I hope you agree. Here we go.
He made it possible for us to have this. It was almost the pinnacle of the loft experience when one of the musicians is doing. So both Sam's loft and Rashid's club were for me, the most important things that ever happened for the development of the dignity of the musicians, because you got the sense that you were able to be supported by your mentors. They could be businessmen that allowed for opportunities. You didn't have to count on somebody else that was so much out of your realm, and out of touch with what you were doing. And you also didn't have to line up to be packaged in the star system, So just understanding the strength of your own work and knowing that you could present it in gallery form, sort of like I'm going to do on Saturday.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you. Pheeroan akLaff, our guest tonight, upcoming performances. I want to hear all about it. Tell us.
Well, we're performing at the theater named Jalopy, and it's in Red Hook, which is kind of a sequitur, isn't it? No. Okay, no, that's not good.
Oh.
But no,
it's a cool spot. It's a really cool spot.
It's a great spot. I mean, it's both down to earth, family oriented. It's got a crazy bar next door just in case you want to hang out all night as well, and actually a new place on the corner. So it's a burgeoning scene, as it were, there in Red Hook. Jalopy Theater is at 315 Columbia Street in Red Hook, and I will be there with a band that's tributing one of my favorite themes, the news. No. The Brooklyn Mime Troupe is going to give you the news as we see it, and we will do socially uplifting, consciousness-raising, lyrics, lashing, slashing.
It's about time.
It's an important thing that's been worked out of most performances. I've never been one that has been shy to make a nice political joke, or in this day and time, maybe there's no such thing as a nice one. Maybe just anything that outside of registering to vote is fair. And so, or outside of not registering to vote, I should say, is fair. But there is I might have a new song for the president. Actually, I had not written one, and I just got inspired today. So,
would you like to share it with us, or are you going to save it for Saturday? I'm going to
save it for Saturday.
All right. Well, people ask me seriously. People do like, Mitch, what's going on with music? Where should I go? I want some music I can sink my teeth into, and some entertainment, and just that feeling of somebody out there has some idea, is thinking the way I'm thinking, or give me something to think about, this is the place to go this Saturday.
This Saturday, get your fill of what could be somewhere between Sly and the Family Stone and San Francisco Mime Troupe. So
I like it. Now, who's the band? Who's going to be hitting?
Well, my longtime cohort is only a fraction of what he represents to me. Jerome Harris is playing bass. And, we wrote songs together during the Jump Up days, and we still have over time penned a few things, mostly for our personal selves. But in this case, it's time we can have folks like my daughter. Even we both have adult children now, so
yeah,
to sing. And Alicia Zebulon, daughter of Zebulon, who played with Stevie Wonder, percussionist. Who else? Ade, Steve Colson's playing keyboards with us. Shu Nakamura, guitarist. And I should have the flyer in front of me so I remember who everyone who's there. Who did I not mention? Me.
Wait, who's playing
percussion
drums on this?
Yes, and there's me. And Jirawa's going to play percussion. Brian Jirawa Gray is going to play percussion with us. So
Saturday night, Jalopy Theater. What time?
8 and 10. And I suggest reservations because the place is great. It's funky. It's small. It's wonderful. But I suggest reservations because and it's really affordable too. It's only $10 for each show. I that's an important thing today. And $15 for 2 shows. So the way you want to get to Jalopy Theater, 315 Columbia Street, is go to www.jalopy.biz, and you will see the map and the several routes to get there. Even the bus works well over there. I've taken the bus there. And that Brooklyn has become something, huh?
Yeah, too bad wasn't like that when we lived there.
Exactly.
I remember thinking, this place, it would be so cool if there were just some music venues, maybe a restaurant or two, movie theater. There was nothing out there.
Yeah.
We split too
well,
soon.
there was a place that Preacher
few.
played, the Val Hal. There was something like
there
that.
There were some little spots, but nothing like now. Seriously.
No.
Jalopy.
No, the place.
Jalopy.biz. JALOPY. Jalopy.biz. Go check that out. And absolutely, Saturday, the place to be.
Yes. And or you can see my whole schedule there at my website, which is spelled, my name is not easy to spell, PheeroanakLaff.com.
Yes. We are in Kyoto, and we should probably play some more music, but I want to hear, I got to ask you, tell me about this building because, you've traveled the world, I can say that, and place, spirit of place, and especially the sound environment, these things.
Right. Well, this building was, at that time, that would have been a new building. Mm-hmm. When I played it was a little older, so it was more seasoned, I guess. I would imagine. Yeah. And so I could hear the newness in the building. I hear it's a reverberating hall, and hence, for the first few minutes, we heard Tony not playing as aggressively, and that's what we drummers do to size up the room first, and then just to make sure that everything is pleasant and all the various corners are not. Ringing with somewhere in the microphone and cymbal and bass drums. I noticed he was using a lower pitched bass drum. This was before he went to. It could have been what drums were supplied for that day, and that was the tooling that worked. I don't know, but it wasn't his classic small bass drum sound.
Interesting. Well, let's dive back in. We've got it's all of you. Is the next piece, and then the recording ends a couple of minutes into 7 Steps to Heaven. That's all we got of this one. So, shall we hear it?
Yes.
Yes. Pheeroan akLaff.
Into the 7 Steps to Heaven.
Yes. Who, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, is playing this Saturday at the Jalopy Theater in Brooklyn. Jalopy.biz. But we are listening to Miles Davis, Kyoto, Japan, July 15th, 1964. There's only one recording that's been released of Miles Davis with Sam Rivers. As far as I know, this tour might be the only time that they played together. And what we're listening to tonight is not that one recording from Tokyo, but the following night in Kyoto. So this is fresh stuff and great stuff. I hope you agree. So all of you and 7 Steps to Heaven from Kyoto, July of 1964. WKCR. blame me. That is how that recording ends. But I saw a really interesting quote recently. I think it was from Dr. Seuss saying something, I'm going to screw it up, something to the effect of, let's not be sad that it ended. Let's be happy that it happened at all. Because that recording, I actually looked in several Miles Davis biographies, discographies, and this recording does not show up at all. This is unknown in the Miles Davis discography. And yet, it exists. You just heard it. July 15th, 1964, Maruyama Ongaku-do Hall in Kyoto, Japan. And I hope you're not just tuning in because you just missed some gems. Miles Davis, of course, playing trumpet. Sam Rivers here playing tenor saxophone, which is one of the things that led us to want to hear this particular recording tonight. Herbie Hancock piano, Ron Carter on the bass, Tony Williams on the drums. My guest tonight, this is a Deep Focus program. Pheeroan akLaff is here in the studio, and we are listening together. And Pheeroan, I want to one of the great pleasures of this show is hearing the way you listen and what you hear and feel listening to this music.
Well, I'm still struck by the significance of this, listening to this during just after the Obon holiday. And
now, I'm not familiar.
That's a Japanese holiday that recognizes the return of the ancestors. And it's one of the places with whom, I have this relationship musically, and I enjoy immersing myself in the approach to music that is found by traditional Japanese musicians using this quality of ma. And by that tune ending with the drums that way, with Tony playing in his very spacious and pointillistic way, it reminded me of how he and many of us can absorb that language. It seemed, even though I'd heard Seven Steps to Heavens and his approach to the solo in it, the classic one, my dad played it all the time. I loved it. To hear just that same approach, slightly modified, and as I could assess, subjectively, refined in this hall, in this sensibility, where he'd probably just seen temples, smelled incense, and the like. It's kind of the thing that brings me to tears just to think about the both the power of the musical experiences that are possible when you can immerse yourself in the music as you can, because of course it's known that when you're playing there, you really don't have to worry about anything technically except just play your music. So you get the perfect sound, you get the perfect whatever else you need technically to make the performance.
I don't know if people realize that, our general audience. When you go to Japan, it's like all those things that might be right in the States or almost right in Europe, but like, boom.
Well, there's, when I first started going to Europe in the 70s, my first experience was Switzerland and Austria and Germany, and where there was this next level of attention to detail on professional production. And believe me, I for the scene that I was in, this was a big
right.
push upward, and to see that much care put behind the production of performances in African American music of the classical form, and to have the awareness and understanding of the musical history, listening with that perspective, it's really it's a spellbinding thing, and it charges the artist up with the energy to do one of the best performances of their life. I mean, I still remember how it feels to play in Kyoto, because you can hear a pin drop, and you can hear a guy shouting hallelujah too at the right time. So I mean,
it says to the artist, it says to the audience more than anything, this music is worthy of your attention, and we're going to set this moment aside, and we're all going to be in this together at once.
Exactly. Not only we're only going to be together at once, but we're going to really going to relish this experience of all experiencing it at this time. That level of concentration, sometimes happens in older cultures where, the musical traditions are so rife with power that people can actually utilize on a daily basis. Some of these things we haven't codified in a way that, maybe
we have other things.
We have other things, It's like, unfortunately, we have,
we don't have that.
We have satellites,
Yeah.
but they can tell where everyone is, but but I don't know if we can assign, proper frequencies to the sound and light and everything else we need to enrich ourselves on a daily basis. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Little by
and
little.
This music helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a delight, man. I love doing this. I love doing this show. I'm so happy you came up tonight and we got into this. And it's funny because we were talking about this over the last couple of weeks, and you sent me an email. I've got a couple things on my mind. One is Coltrane in Japan. I'm like, okay, 66. Okay, I could see Pheeroan getting into that. And Miles in Japan, I was like, 75. Agartha, yeah. And I don't know. And then I realized when you told me, I wasn't thinking about that at all. And then I realized, it occurred to me, Miles Davis spent a lot of time in Japan over the years. He was there many times. And, you happen to have the one that you were thinking of in mind. I had one in mind for me, but, he's not around to ask about it, but I imagine he had a special affinity because he was there a lot.
He was there a lot, and there were people who really enjoyed him during that time, and they really paid tribute to him like no one else. Even to the point, to this day, I have a friend who, every time he sees me, he goes into his Miles Davis voice imitation. Moto, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. There's only one person that does that.
Now, Pheeroan, you're a musician. Miles was a musician. You lived in New York for many years. Miles lived in New York. You played with a lot of musicians that also played with Miles. Maybe, did you guys, circles overlap? Did you ever perform with Miles? You ever hang out with Miles? You have any?
No, I think there are only two. I only have two Miles Davis encounters, and one was the recording period of 1973 that was considered where he played live in Shinjuku. Well, he played at my school, Eastern Michigan University, and sometime in that year, in 1973, with that band, and I saw him lambast the drummer, who could have been my dear friend Al. I don't know. I was too young I was too afraid to go and see anybody else. He was. I was thinking, I better stay away from him. So if you're listening, Al, you can confirm if that was you or not.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, but yeah, I saw him that day, and after the concert, I was too scared to talk. But it was the first time I'd seen a band play an hour and a half. And one of my mates said to me, "Well, Pheeroan, you better really practice if you're going to be playing an hour and a half. You see that?" Da, 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 da. Little did I know that, yes, I would end up doing an hour and a half shows and dripping wet afterwards. But then the other time in his midst was at the acupuncture doctor, Dr. Chin, down on Bayer Street. Yeah. But I was practicing my lines, Al had told me, said, "Yeah, when you see him, just tell him I told you, I told him, I like your playing, da da da." I said, okay. So I'm getting all ready. I'm thinking like, damn. He didn't see him. I tried to get it ready and say, "Oh, Miles, I'm throwing," so. No, he was more interested in my wife than me.
Yeah.
So that's why I never played with my. No, it's like that. That was an oil and water situation. It's like he really could give a very little hoot about me. But
You'd be
but
surprised.
I did.
Maybe it might have made it registered.
You never know.
More than
But I
think.
did see that band just before I was about to go on stage with Air. Henry Threadgill and Fred Hopkins in the Montreal Jazz Festival to do my favorite record of all the records I've done is the Live at Montreal. And just before that, I had seen the band with Al and at that time it was
Marcus?
Marcus. And,
Marcus Miller.
And Stern.
Right.
And Mino.
Right.
And,
81, 80, it had to be 81, 80, 83?
I think it was 83. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Bob from Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Yeah, so so needless to say, we didn't have any personal and or musical activity, but he is one of the few people whose music I've covered, so to speak, or tried to play, and he is also, one of the most important figure that I get in arguments at the dinner table about. So when I say angels and demons that play, it doesn't necessarily mean the demons are bad.
Right. Good point. Very interesting.
Just part of the whole,
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, he was certainly the person that we look to as. When you hear a Last Poets song and they mention Burdened is then what what's the next thing you think?
Mm-hmm.
Miles and Train.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's as a tandem of the pillars of the musical and language blocks that we build all this on. That's where they fit for me.
And he certainly seemed to wear it lightly, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he kind of carried it with a lot of grace.
Oh yeah.
Now his playing on this date was really impressive. I mean, we're sort of focusing on Sam Rivers, which is very interesting. I mean, there's any number of ways to peer into this, but Miles' playing was kind of explosive here. It
was very explosive, and I remember seeing him play in New Orleans in 1983, and it was one of those situations where, really no one wanted to hear anyone else.
Right.
And it's
right.
Unfortunate if you have to be the closing band for Miles, which Wynton was. But that was it's like really
in his hometown, no less.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Miles is wearing like a red leather jacket.
Right.
I mean, it's like, and they were wearing suits, it's like, man, oh man. it's a lot to take on. A real comet and special force.
Yeah, well, speaking of this, man, this is, I guess I can stop saying how much fun I'm having, but I really am enjoying this so much. This program, Jazz Alternatives, is on from 6 to 9 p.m. We're just past halfway through tonight. My name is Mitch Goldman. I'm here on Mondays, and one of the great pleasures doing this show is doing this program, this Deep Focus. And Pheeroan akLaff is my guest. We just explored this fantastic rare recording of Miles Davis in Kyoto, which I hope you got to hear. And if not, don't fret, because we're moving on to another stunning, incredibly rare recording that you've never heard that's equally astonishing. So you're here at the right place at the right time. This, and I did mention a little bit earlier, you're talking about Coltrane in Japan. Very famous recording that John Coltrane made. It's kind of one of the most well-known of his later period. It's July of 1966. Coltrane did the one and only tour that he did of Japan. We were talking about Miles having spent a lot of time over the years in Japan. Coltrane was there exactly once, and that album Live in Japan was recorded in Tokyo, not unlike the Miles Davis 1964 recording with Sam Rivers, but less well-known is a performance that happened the next night in Kobe, Japan. The town, by the way, that was so in the news because of the things that the unfortunate natural occurrence that happened there in recent years. But Kobe is where this recording was made, July 17th, 1966, coincidentally exactly 1 year to the day before Coltrane's death, 67. And the band is Coltrane and Pharoah Sanders, both playing various saxophones and percussion. I think Coltrane maybe even, is he playing alto saxophone here somewhat? And
I'm not sure.
Alice Coltrane on piano, Jimmy Garrison on the bass, Rashid Ali playing drums. And this, I will tell you, is not a fantastic recording. But if you're a fan of Coltrane's music, or even if you're not, if you can find your way past that and put yourself in the Kobe Kokusai Kaikan on July 17th, 1966, you are in for quite a treat. Pheeroan, is there anything more we want to say before giving people a chance to hear some of this music?
Well, the announcer will come up, right?
Yeah.
And he will say, he will start with the introduction of Jimmy Garrison. So maybe in the recording, he probably introduced Rashid Ali first, but it got clipped.
Yeah.
And then he goes on. So Rashid is not mentioned by the introducing MC. What else? There is...
and he introduces Alice Coltrane, Alice MacLeod.
Alice MacLeod. And so thanks to the MacLeod family being from Detroit, as I am, Turiya Sanjitananda is there a year after she has had our dear friend Ravi.
Right.
So,
wow.
And Rashid's drum solo, I noticed, particularly being influenced once again by the drum gods, it reminds me so much of how in hearing the music and functioning at the pace, in getting the ear that will allow you to play one note on a drum and it can ring for 7 seconds and everybody's with you. It's another feeling. Mm-hmm. It goes beyond feeling, actually. It really it goes to that level of the cranial sacral space that makes you realize, in this case, for all of you, you have to think of the time you first heard a 33 record with lots of scratches, but you listened intently because you knew it was not just a regular everyday pianist. It was either Willie the Lion Smith or Serge Rachmaninoff or whomever it was playing that piano. So with that, I'll say open yourself up to hear how, especially with Turiya and Onadaruth, who are now devotees of the Vedic tradition, as you know, Buddhism being a practice in Japan, and where they would be in an environment to have that reinforced by looking at several Buddhas and Kanno and other implements and environmental accoutrements that would influence their musical connection to the spheres. You know, let that be the perspective that you take in listening to from an audio, the audio being reduced to where you'd pretty much have to concentrate and put yourself in that place.
And try to imagine, I wonder in that day of where communication was at relative to now, what kind of preparation people might have had for this music.
Yeah. That's something that I'd like to explore. In fact, I'm going to explore it. I'll for those of you who have seen my website, you'll see that I'm going to do a tour in Japan on the first week of November, where I work with some musicians that I've known for a long time, and we're going to do a tribute to the Sonny Rollins' Freedom Now Suite record. We're going to play that and some of our own originals and some of the Japanese traditional music. And so, yes, the preparation for this and where he would take them, I think there would not have been, they could not have been prepared, and the ensemble would have to be pretty much transported before they hit the stage.
Oh, they're on point,
and they are. And one really cute, interesting thing is to hear Pheero play almost Eiler-esque.
Oh yeah,
much more so than the way he would play more Train-esque later. And then, yeah. So let's.
All right, we're going in.
Let's go in.
My guest is Pheeroan akLaff, who's playing Saturday night at the Jalopy Theater in Brooklyn. And this is something, again, I bet money you've never heard. The John Coltrane Quintet in Kobe, Kokusai Kaikan, July 17th, 1966. This is WKCR.
The one and only John Goldman.
That is part 2 of a deep focus from 2011, Monday, August 15th from that year. Pheeroan akLaff, my guest in the studio, on the topic of Miles Davis and John Coltrane in Japan. And I'm going to give you a couple of little bonuses. You made it this far into the show, over an hour of this deep focus program. You probably know there's over 200 episodes up at probably accessible on your favorite podcasting app. You could definitely find them at our hosting site, which is mitchgoldman.podbean.com. But they're not, I've had comments from people, it's not so easy to go back and look. Maybe someone told you, oh, you got to hear this episode, Vijay Iyer talking about Thelonious Monk, or Henry Threadgill talking about Thelonious Monk, or any of the others. So I set up a search tab for you. You have to go to my personal website, which is mitchgoldman.com. It's totally separate from that hosting site. And there's a pull-down menu. You'll find a tab about Deep Focus. And right in the middle of that page, there's a search bar, Google search bar, and you put in any search terms, and it'll pull up the episode, whether it's the name of the host or the guest or the date or whatever it might be. And so that's one thing to know about mitchgoldman.com, the About Deep Focus pull-down menu. The other thing is that you can email us. You can send an email if you want to deepfocusnow@gmail.com. And you can also follow us along, I think you might know, on Instagram. If you haven't already, follow us there. Definitely want to subscribe to find out about new shows that are coming up. And if you're having a good time taking this ride with me, then please do let some folks know. Just tell somebody, post it on your socials, and please do give us some likes and thumbs up and a little description. It will help to bring this program to people's attention who don't know about it. Those algorithms in the places that serve this, it's going to make it a little bit more prominent, and people find out about the show. We got nobody knows unless you tell them. That's the funny thing. All right. Okay, see you over at part 3. It's 2011, 08-15, Pheeroan akLaff on John Coltrane and Miles Davis in Japan.